Welcome back, everybody, to a fabulous new episode of In the Library of Graphic Literature with your host, Wallace Ryan.
Boo, 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 boo. I got the secrets here. Boo, 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 boo. And of course, Luna. Yay! Well, what I do have here is our list for this week. Now, next week's episode will actually be some new books for a change.
Yes.
But this week is, what is it? Oh, yes, is Back from the Dead. Heroes who've died and came back from the dead. And of course, this being Easter.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter, what a perfect time, right? So I did up a list of the top 10. Hang on a sec, we got an invader here.
Ooh.
Oh, the cat somehow has gotten into the room. Show him off to the folks. Oh, no. And we'll throw him out. Otherwise, he will be destroying everything as we're trying to record, right? Okay. So anyway. Sweet. Good work there. Anyway, so this is the heroes who've died and come back to life. So, come back to life. Our number 10 is... Oh, number 10 is a tie. And it actually happens in this where Pip and Gamora are brought back from the dead. They die. Oh God, it's in another book that I have there. They died and they're brought back anyway. So somehow it's weird how by this point bringing people back from the dead was starting to become really in vogue, right? So here are two characters that everyone thought were dead and they were dead, right?
Pretty sure they call it necromancy.
I don't know what it is, but then again, I was glad because I did like Pip and Gamora, so I was kind of glad to see them both back, right?
Or reincarnation.
Or reincarnation. Okay. Now, let's see. Our number 9. Okay, I'll throw this one in this. Our number 9 actually has died and come back from the dead in his very first appearance. And that is Swamp Thing. Yay! So Swamp Thing in his very origin, I'll just pull it up there for the folks. He it's the old thing of where he falls into a swamp. They set off a bomb in his lab and he goes into the swamp and he
fell into the bog of eternal stench.
Yeah, and he dies, and then so many days later, he emerges from the swamp. Art by, of course, the amazing Bernie Wrightson. He comes back as a swamp creature. And, I mean, there will be people out there who say, well, he dies quite a few times when he switches bodies and all that later on. But he starts out coming back from the dead, which I think is pretty cool. Oh, I love that page there. It was a great series, great art by Bernie Wrightson. But anyway, one of the first really to come back from the dead, like, just after being introduced and then he's dead. Okay, so that's one of my more favorite ones, actually. 880 is Thanos. And it happens in this issue. It's, as a matter of fact, some might even argue that he died back in Captain America, when in fact he just shrank back to his normal size and so on. But he does come back later on in Avengers, I think it is, Avengers and the Marvel 2-in-1. And here at the end, basically Adam Warlock comes back from the dead again in here, and he turns him into a statue, right? So he's essentially dead, right? And then of course he comes back to life then a couple of years later through, I think it was in the Silver Surfer, I can't remember, but he comes back from the dead again. It's just like, can't any of you people stay dead? Right? Actually, Captain Marvel, the very first Captain Marvel for Marvel, Captain Marvel, they've never brought him back. And I think it's because, as opposed to being punched to death by someone or ray gunned to death, he died of cancer. So I guess they feel that they can't mess with his death, right? So, anyway, so where were we? Thanos, 7. 7 is, and it's not. This is not the particular issue, but Barry Allen. He was the Flash for so many years, and I just picked this out just to show Barry. And then they killed him off in the Crisis in Infinite Earths in the 80s, and then they recently brought him back, and which I was glad, because he had been replaced at the time by Kid Flash, became Flash. But to me, growing up, Kid Flash was always Flash. He just, I was never Flash. Kid Flash was Kid Flash. He should have stayed Kid Flash while Barry Allen was Flash and should remain Flash. I think it was bad. Just, I don't know, it was just something that annoyed me at the time. So when I heard they were bringing him back, I was really happy. Okay, that one. And some people are saying, boo, that's not a real good one. Alright? Next one, though, is one of the early big deaths. And it is, believe it or not, in the early X-Men. Boom, 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 boom.
The death and resurrection of...
Yeah, one more page.
page?
And...
Who is it? Professor X?
The death of Professor X. Okay, show it to the folks there. And I guess they were looking for something to really kickstart the series, because they were kind of... It's funny, in the 60s, the X-Men was possibly the least popular Marvel title of them all. It was only into the late 70s when they were taken over and someone else did it that it became any good. But he does come back, and actually he does come back within this very same book, when it turns out that he didn't die. He just went into hiding to fight off this alien race that was going to invade. As a matter of fact, where is it? Oh, here we go. One of my favorite X-Men stories, and and then they get to meet, and they tell him about the aliens, and they say, Professor X, he's back, So yeah, so it was a big fake out. So he didn't, technically, I guess he really didn't die then, did he? Right? But his was the first big death that I can remember anyway. So, Professor X, number 6. Number 5. Ooh, 5 is a previously mentioned one here, Adam Warlock. And it was actually that scene that I showed you. I guess I'm not going to haul it out from the books. From the stack, just for that. Although I should. Oh, let me hang on a second. This is going to knock stuff all over the place. Oh, no. Wrong one. There we go. There. It was in that scene. Close, like I say, close to in this one, actually. Now, he is technically killed in this one, and I guess it's his ghost, really, that comes back from the dead. So it's in this one that he... Yeah, it really is in this one that he... Oh, come on, Adam. Where is it? Yeah, and this actually mirrors a scene from earlier in the book, from earlier in the series. And this is where he's actually killed by himself. His future self comes to him and kills him, which is a scene taken from earlier on. But as we learn, like all of them, and it's funny, here's the 3 of them, Gamora, Pip, and Warlock, 3 of the ones on the list. All in one happy place there back then. Anyway, so Warlock, famous for dying, and actually think of it, in the early days, he would reform and change. He'd form a cocoon around himself. So in a way, it's almost like birth and death and rebirth a couple of times for him. I don't know. Okay, I know that's pushing it. Okay, now that was our number 5, wasn't it? Our number 4, and I picked this just for because he's on the cover, was Bucky, Captain America's sidekick. Now, Captain America's sidekick, when I was reading comics in the 70s and all that, part of the pathos, what really drove Captain America in a lot of stories was he'd always remember about poor old Bucky and how Bucky was dead and Bucky's still dead, and they went on and on. And to be quite honest, I never... What's that?
Where is he?
He's that young fella there.
Okay.
So he was like his Robin too. He was kind of like his Robin, right? Hey, get out of there. Cats are both trying. I think they're both trying to get in now. Oh, where is it? Oh, there he is down in the corner being strangled by that other guy. And so he was kind of like Captain America's Robin. But at the end of the war, he is supposedly killed in this in the same attack that ends up freezing Captain America under the ice for so many years, and it was supposed to be, and was accepted as dead, generally, and every time, of course, Bucky will come up and be like, "Come on, Buck, give it a rest. Bucky's dead, all right? For God's sake, all right?" And then they bring him back, and now I gotta say, they did it in a really cool fashion. He came back as what's become known as the Winter Soldier, which, of course, the Captain America Winter Soldier movie, and actually there was a series on Netflix too. But the Winter Soldier, he turns out he was a commie spy, but then he becomes good again he falls back into the American sphere of influence, shall we say, and next thing he's all good again. And so Bucky, welcome back, Bucky Barnes, good old Bucky Barnes. So he wasn't dead like we all thought, and all that worrying that Captain America did during the 60s and 70s, it wasn't worth it. Anyway, okay. 4, 3. Oh, now 3 I don't have a book for, even though they actually have released a hardcover for, was The Death of Superman. And I mean, I had the comic book store at the time, and I sold a lot of them and all that, so I guess I just sick of seeing it, alright? Oh, here we go, here's Superman right there. Okay, I knew there was a Superman with an easy reach somewhere. But, so he gets killed by Doomsday, and gets killed on every page of the comic. Well, not killed, but that was one of the worst. I hate to say it was one of the worst comics ever, because it was like a full page for every page. So I mean, it took like 10 seconds to read the whole book, right? And then he just dies in the end, which the title "Death of Superman" kind of gave away the ending, really, right? But still, it was one of the first big ones because the outer world caught on to it, in terms of it was all over the news and all that. Superman is dying and all that. So it was a pretty good PR stunt, because they got millions and millions of dollars worth of free advertising and Superman for that month. And I know, because I was in business at the time, for the first time since the 30s or 40s, I'm sure, it outsold everything else, right? Boy, did I sell a lot of those, right? And I resold a lot of them in the following weeks, because they sold out right away, and I still had a couple left. And people were selling for $100, $50. But and they were only priced at about $4 or $5 maybe. But I was selling them for $15, because that was sort of the agreed upon real price of it, right? And the week after, I was delivered another box full of them. It's just like, oh my God. So I sold them all for $15 each. They were 3 times what the cover price was for, but still what was a really good price at the time, right? Because other people were selling them for $50 and $100 even here in town. It's just like, give me a break, right? Mm-hmm. So for once I was a good guy. Now, our number 2, and it is actually in this one that you have here, is one of the other big deaths. Jean Grey, otherwise known as Phoenix. Da-na-na-na-na-na. And this was one of the big deaths when I was growing up. And this is actually the issue of. She dies fighting off she's fighting off the Shi'ar or whatever. They basically say that, something got to happen to her. She got to be put to death because she becomes Dark Phoenix. She kind of has like a split personality. This was before it became so popular, right? And she goes berserk, and they end up. They ended up having. Oh, actually, this was one after it. Yeah, actually, here's the scene. So they end up trying to protect her because she'd lost a lot of her powers. Mm. And then in the middle of the battle, she regains all her powers, and when they thought everything was going bad, the Phoenix returns, and then the next thing, it's killing off all the Shi'ar and all the other people, and she ends up essentially getting Scott to although Scott doesn't do it. As she's talking to Scott, distracting him, she pulls up a gun behind her and kills herself, right? In an act of cosmic suicide, I guess, right? Because they, she couldn't be trusted, right? Now, what happens, of course, later on, you find out that the Dark Phoenix and Phoenix that you see there was, in fact, a fake Phoenix, because when she gained her Phoenix powers by crashing from outer space into around New York City, it was the real Jean Grey sunk to the bottom once again in a cocoon, funny enough, and this fake one came out and lived her life, and that was the one that died, and then the real Jean Grey comes back again. But I mean, then it goes back and forth between her and Madeline Pryor. You're not sure, you're not sure who or where or what the whole Phoenix thing is, and it just gets worse from there. But anyway, Jean Grey, one of the first big resurrections, I guess, in terms of didn't make it to the news like Superman did, but it was pretty big to us little folks. Now, this is it, the number one. The number one basically died and come back to life. Of them all was what we like to call Thanos snap of the fingers. In this one, he decides, of course, that he's going to kill off half the galaxy. So I think it was. No, I think it's in the. Is it in the second issue? Yeah, I do believe it's in the second issue, where he. Come on, where he. Here's all the boys getting this is beautifully drawn too, by the way, and. Oh, come on. This one I should have marked because I know I'd never get this one right. But yeah, he just steps forward and he snaps his fingers because he got the Infinity Gauntlet, of course, at the time. Where is it? Oh, I got it over there. And just snaps his fingers and kills off half the people in the universe. Mm. Which is, when you think about it ecologically, probably not a half bad idea, right? In terms of at least cutting down on global warming and that, right? But anyway,
I heard Sailor Saturn could do something very similar.
Yes, yeah,
just make the planets explode.
It could be. But with this one, it was like half basically throughout the entire universe, half the people died. Now, later on in the book, when Adam Warlock actually gets hold of the Infinity Gauntlet, he restores everything to the way it was before. Mm. So all those people killed come back from the dead. So it does count as probably the biggest coming back from the dead ever in comics, because it's half the galaxy. Mm. Half the universe, dies and comes back from the dead. And you can't get better than that, right?
I'm pretty sure if Sailor Saturn makes things explode, then she also ends up having to reincarnate.
Does she die, though, or?
Yeah, she resurrects.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll throw her into the...
There was manga.
We'll throw her...
Positive.
We'll throw her into honorable mentions.
It's just an anime.
I actually had a couple of other ones there. John Constantine. I can't remember how, but I know he died somewhere.
It was a dream, wasn't he?
No. He was Hellblazer.
Oh, okay.
Spider-Man does die, but he comes back. It's another one. Wolverine was another one they killed off. Actually, I didn't have a huge lot of honorable mentions with this one.
For some reason, I was thinking of the Carithian from Sandman.
No. He had his own title. No, he does first appear in the Sandman, and he's an English guy. He actually looks like Sting, because that's who he was originally based on. But he wears this trench coat, and he's some sort of, I guess, ghost hunter of some sort, spirit eater or whatever, right? All around mystical guy, right? But yeah, and I did notice in my research he was on a lot of lists of people who died, and I'd remember that. I just couldn't remember the exact details. That's why I did, and plus I didn't have it. A lot of times when we're doing these top 10 lists, I try to see if I actually have the issues that I'm talking about, right?
What was it? Death lives as a human, like one day a year or something?
Oh yeah. Isn't that the high cost of living? Is that the one that it's in? I think I'll have to double check that, but I think it is.
So, yeah.
But anyway, on an Easter Sunday when dying and coming back to life is a big thing, especially for you Christians. This is our top 10...
Death and resurrection of comics.
Yeah, people who came back from the dead. And speaking of coming back from the dead, we will be back next week with a pile of new books, maybe even a couple of shows. So I could break it into two, depending on what we get this week too. But that's about it. Let's see. Oh yes, and there's still a few weeks left to vote for myself as favorite artist, or the graphic novel that I did with Paul, who was actually nominated in the same category as me. So we're fighting it out. But I hope one of us wins it. As long as it's a Newfoundlander wins it, that's okay. This is for the Sequential Magazine Awards, right? Which great magazine. And Stringer, of course, is nominated for best graphic novel. So definitely vote for that.
Did you put the link in the description, sir?
I will. I did last week, actually, or last time, but I will, yes. And I guess that's it in terms of really big news. No, that is it. And, oh yes, and Thursday Comics will be back any day now, because just about all of our technical issues have been solved, and everything is peachy keen. That being said, have a happy Easter, and keep on reading, and thanks for having us over. Bye!
Bye!